There are other times, like in that same time, there was an older manager who I had to work with, and he was uncomfortable with a young female being in the room because he said that it made him have to watch what he was saying. And I was like, well, what is he saying that I can't be in the room? What is he saying? What is he wanting to say?
السلام عليكم، ازيكم؟ عاملين ايه؟ النهاردة ان شاء الله هتكون اول حلقة في البودكاست بتاعي. بودكاست هو يعني اذاعة، هنزلها ان شاء الله على المواقع المختلفة بتاعت الاذاعة، وهتنزل فيديو على قد ما اقدر على هنا القناة على اليوتيوب. هقابل فيها ناس مختلفين، نحاول نشوفهم بيفكروا ازاي، بيتعاملوا مع الحياة ازاي بيديروا ضغوطهم. هحاول اقابل ناس مختصين زي كوتشز علاقات او كوتشز ادارة ذات وكده، نتكلم مع بعض ازاي نحسن حياتنا وازاي نطورها. او هقابل مع ناس عندها خبرات في الحياة فعلا، زي ضيفة النهاردة، يقدروا يفيدونا من الخبرة دي ازاي نحسن من حياتنا، ونحاول ناخد منهم نتعلم منهم. مش شرط تجربتهم تبقى مناسبة لينا كلها، بس نحاول نشوف هم تعلموا ايه في الحياة ونطبق الحاجات اللي تعلموها، حاجة لو في حاجة مناسبة لينا نطبقها. ضيفة النهاردة من الشخصيات المحترمة والرائعة اللي أنا قابلتها خلال الفترة اللي فاتت دي، وأنا بقابل ناس مختلفة في الكوتشنج. هي مديرة من المديرين الكبار في شركة من أكبر الشركات. حكت لنا، فتحت لنا قلبها، حكت لنا عن تجارب مختلفة في حياتها، واتعلمت هي منها ايه. هي كمان بتشتغل طول حياتها، يعني 22 سنة بتشتغل في مجال الموارد البشرية أو ال HR، وهي مديرة التدريب والتطوير في مكانها. فهتنقل لنا ازاي نتعامل احنا كستات في مكان شغلنا، ازاي هي عرفت توصل لده، ايه الصفات اللي هي شايفة ان هي لازم تبقى موجودة في اي حد عايز يوصل لمكانة زي كده. وهتقول لنا كمان من واقع خبرتها في الشغل ازاي نتعامل مع التحرش او نتعامل مع التنمر في الشغل. كل الحاجات دي اتكلمنا فيها، مفهومها للنجاح، تجربتها المختلفة في الحياة، ازاي اتعاملت مع تجربة الطلاق وازاي تعافت منها واتجوزت تاني بعدها. حلقة حقيقي جميلة جدا، مبسوطة جدا ان انا اتعرفت على شخصية بجمالها، اسمها فاليريا. تابعوا الحلقة، يا رب تعجبكم ويا رب تستفيدوا منها. يلا بينا. This is going to be my first episode of my podcast, which I'm going to call That. And my guest today is Valeria.
Yes, hello.
We are having so much fun doing that for the first time together. Let me first introduce my guest, Valeria. She is currently working as a head of professional development in a very large corporation. And she is also is director of marketing in ICF Doha chapter. Before in US, she used to work as a manager in different companies. Hi, Valeria.
Hello.
That was very formal.
It was. It's okay. Now that we got that out of the way.
Yeah. And we are not going to talk about all of that. We are going to talk about life.
Yeah.
So, how's life?
Life is good. Life is busy.
Yeah. So, where do you want us to start with?
Well, we can start with how we manage life and work and home and all the things that we as women have to deal with.
Okay.
Relationships. And
Yes. Okay, but I'm more interested to know how Valeria do that.
Valeria is.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So I have to make time for myself. It took me a long time to figure out that if I don't make time for myself and replenish my energy, I can't help anyone else. And so I have to really work on that.
Yes. Okay. Uh, uh, Valeria, now you are working as HR in HR, right?
Yes, I worked in HR for 29
Uh,
years.
Yeah. These days, most of women like to think of how they are going to like establish their career and be independent and all. Although sometimes before even thinking about love and marriage. How did you figure out that you want? Do you like being working as HR?
I do.
Okay.
I've always liked working with people, and I started out wanting to be an engineer. Actually, I started wanting to be an architect, but I was always good in math and science.
Oh,
So
really?
my counselors in high school kind of nudged me to go into engineering because I liked solving problems. But when I started studying engineering, I found that it wasn't a good fit for me. And I spent some time thinking about what I like to do. And my dad owned his own business, and I kind of liked his flexibility. I liked the fact that he was very professional. He got to manage his own time. So I said, I think I want to be in the business area. So I went over to the business school. And as I looked at the options, human resources and personnel was one of the options for studying in business. And I liked it because it was a way to solve people problems. So HR was a good fit.
Okay. So you figured out from the beginning that you want to do that.
Well, I knew I wanted to work. I had to work.
Yeah.
I always knew that I wanted to be a independent professional woman. I also always wanted to get married, but I was focused initially on establishing
So
myself.
you were thinking about marriage.
Yeah.
Because from movies, when we perceive movies, American movies, we feel like American women don't get married.
Oh no, we dream of the Cinderella story and our prince finding us, and and I'd always planned to get married. I had a vision of a house, a husband, 3 kids, a dog, and so I had that vision, but I also had a vision of myself with a suit and a briefcase.
Yeah. Okay, so you have both. So you have been working in the things that you like for all the time. What would you advise women? Like I have a friend, she sent me a message and told me I'm totally lost, and she is almost 30. And what would you advise women that they don't feel themselves in the things that they are doing?
So I think it's hard to expect that you have everything all at once. And so I think we have to learn to be patient with ourselves as women, and to look at every opportunity as a way to learn and grow. So my first job wasn't necessarily what I wanted my dream job to be.
What was?
So I worked as a reservation sales agent for an airline. And I knew I wasn't going to be there forever, but I tried to learn as much as I could from that job. And I did learn a lot that I use even in my work today. So every step, every opportunity, every place that you're in builds something in your toolkit, if you will.
Okay, that's really a nice thought, because sometimes when we feel stuck at a position, like even have problems at marriage or at work that we don't like, we just keep rambling about it, and we cannot see
The silver lining.
the stuff that we can learn and improve ourselves from that job.
I think you can get something from every experience, and also
Even if
trying
it
to be
is hard,
positive.
Valeria?
Yeah, even if it's hard.
Okay.
I think the things that we go through that are difficult are the things that really help us to grow. And so I don't I try to find the positive in every situation. Even if it's hard, I was like, okay, this is going to help me. Eventually, this is a test. I gotta learn something from it.
Okay. Yes, that's really nice thought. Because, most of the time when I post, they will tell me, look, okay, you are too much positive for us. Like, or a friend would send me message, Maha, teach me how to be positive. Okay, how do you see positivity? Is it like being happy all the time?
Yeah, I don't think positivity is about being happy all the time, because I'm definitely not happy all the time. In fact, I used to have issues with the whole word happy, because I don't think life is about being happy. I think being positive is more around recognizing that there is a reason for everything, and that there's meaning in everything, and trying to see what that meaning is positive. Because when you spend time focusing on the negative, it creates stress, and it can bring you down, as opposed to so when you meditate on the negative over and over and over again in your head, it stresses you out. And so there's physical reactions to stress that are all negative. And so you either talk it out or write it out. And I could talk to somebody, but if I couldn't find somebody to talk to, I tend to write in my journal. And so that helps me to, okay, what am I learning from this today? And that helps me to stay positive.
Do you write every day?
I don't write every day, but I try. And actually, I've been trying to get back into the habit of writing, so I've committed to writing at least 5 minutes a day.
So what would you write, like reflecting to the day? Or? Okay.
So I don't usually write at night. I write in the morning. So I like writing in the morning because it allows me to start out with a good intention. So what am I intending to be? How am I going to be today? Am I going to? I think about what I have to do, and I was like, okay, today is a day where I'm going to be really busy with meetings or whatever. So I need to listen, and I want to be open to new ideas. And I'll think about, how do I want to show up today? Do I want to be in a listening mode? Do I want to? Do I need to be patient? Do I want to make sure that I'm kind today? Maybe I've been selfish recently, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try to think about how I can help somebody today. And so when I do it early in the morning and I write out what my intentions are, it's amazing how it sets the tone for the rest of the day.
That's a good habit. I should do this.
Usually
we would do our to-do list or like this stuff, but not setting intentions every day.
Setting intentions.
Yeah. So.
And it doesn't have to be a lot of writing. It can just be a word. I want to be positive today.
Yeah.
I want to be kind.
It doesn't
today.
have to be sitting for 5 or 10 minutes.
No, it can just be a second that you think about setting your intentions for the day.
So, you are married, right?
Yes, I'm married.
You told me about your dreams. How did you find your prince? Did you have? Let's move back and think. Tell us what was how did you visualize it? What was the traits you wanted to be in your?
Yeah. So the reality is, I've been married before, so this is my second marriage. But if I go back in time, I think when I was young, I had too many characteristics or a list that I was trying to find somebody to fulfill. And I don't know that it's that easy for you to find somebody that fits a mold. I think when you're young, you have this idea of what the perfect mate will be. And then when they disappoint you or they don't live up to your vision, it can be a setup for failure. So I think now I recognize that people change and grow. And so when you get married, if you recognize and that you will change and they will change and you're in it together, it's an experience, it's an adventure. And you're going through this life together. I think that's a setup for success. But I had visions of somebody that was tall, somebody that was, I always looked for guys that wore glasses because I thought they were smarter.
Oh, so you like visualize the whole thing?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Guys who wear glasses were, to me, smart and, what else? Tall. Not tall like a giant, but taller than me. Maybe that was a vision of having somebody I could look up to.
Okay, but like personality, character, you thought about.
So I wanted somebody that was loyal, someone who was had a strong sense of faith, because if they didn't believe in something, I thought it would be hard to follow somebody who didn't have a strong set of beliefs. Family is really important to me, so I wanted somebody that was really that was big on family and had family as a value. I come from a large family and we're very close, so it was funny because both my current husband and my previous husband came from very small families.
So you are making the noise.
Yeah, so they're both kind of amazed by my very large, close family. So it's interesting. Opposites attract, I guess.
Okay. So you told I know that you got divorced. So like how was the experience and how did you deal with it?
So it was really tough.
And you had children.
Yeah, I had small children. And I will say that even though I got a divorce, I had 12 wonderful years. We were a great team. We had a lot of things in common. We traveled together. We had 2 beautiful children. But career, I will tell you, got in the way. A big part of what was challenging for us as a couple was trying to balance our professional lives and our personal lives. And my career took off a lot faster than my husband's. And I think that was difficult for both of us. And I didn't recognize how hard it was on my husband to accept my career success. And what I learned from it, I can't tell you what he learned from it, but what I learned from it is that, yes, my career is important, but it's not more important than my family. And if you're with somebody and they don't understand or don't appreciate, I think it's important for you to remind your spouse that family is first. The career is important, but family is also important because they make assumptions about the fact that you're driving so hard and trying to get successful.
So you feel like he didn't get that?
He didn't. I think he thought that I thought my career was more important.
And during the process, you haven't talked about it?
Well, we talked about it on the surface, but not really how he was feeling.
How old were you?
I got married at 26, and so I was like 38 or so, 39 when I got divorced. So it's the growing years, and when you're in your 20s and 30s, you're learning a lot. You're tired. You're trying to balance so many things because at work it's a really busy time when you're trying to prove yourself. And at home it's a really busy time, especially if you have small kids, because you have lots of responsibilities and kids make you tired. They're a lot of fun, but they make you tired.
Yeah, of course.
So as a woman, I was tired all the time. I was I wasn't doing stuff to replenish my energy.
I like details.
Yeah.
Can you tell us like how your day was like?
Oh my goodness. So I would get up early in the morning, and so I had to make sure that the kids were fed and dressed. I had to get myself ready for work.
You have somebody to help you
No,
as a kid?
that's one thing about being in the U.S. that's very different from living here. I wish I had all the support that people had here. I didn't have nanny. I didn't have
Most of people at
family
Egypt
close
also,
by.
they don't have nannies.
And
And
I was-
most of them,
yeah.
they cannot, like most of them, they would live away from the family. So it's
Yeah, so I
similar.
didn't have my mom. So my mom came when my kids were born. So she came and she stayed with me for 2 weeks. And when I got divorced, it got even harder. But even early on, trying to do all of the things for family, wash, and I still had a responsibility for all the housework, washing dishes, washing clothes, cleaning the house, cooking meals. So one of the things my my first husband did is he helped with a lot of that. And as I got busier at work, I think that's where some of the resentment came in, because he found himself taking on a lot more of the household responsibilities as I got busier at work. And I think he woke up one day and said, why am I, it's a role reversal. Why am I doing the dishes and the laundry and the grocery shopping? And because I had a girlfriend that asked me when I got a divorce, she said, because I was telling her about how tired I was once I was a single again. And she was like, well, who was doing all of that stuff when you were married? I was like, I guess my husband was.
So basically, he helped you.
He helped a lot.
Yeah.
He helped a lot. I have to give him credit for that.
Yeah. So how many hours you used to work?
Ooh, my goodness. A minimum of 8, but sometimes 10 hours a day.
Away
And-
from the transportation and
Yeah, that's
everything.
not including an hour commute.
Oh,
Yeah, so
our
an hour
morning.
to work and an hour coming home. So it was a long day, which is why my husband had to pitch in. Usually he worked closer to home, and so he didn't have the long commute. And even when he worked, when we moved around a lot too, which was also hard on my family and my husband's career.
Yes, moving is by itself is very
Stressful.
Stressful, yes. Okay, so like we ask this question a lot, not for regrets, but just to learn. Like if you go back, would you change something of all?
Oh, wow. Well, as I mentioned, I would definitely be more open and transparent about what my priorities were. One of the things that I tell young ladies in the company, my mentees in the company, when they're trying to balance work and family, is I tell them to sit down with their husband and talk about what they want. Try to talk about their dreams without thinking about what the company wants. Just what do you want? Where do you want to live? What kind of lifestyle do you want? Whose career is going to be the one that, drives your family? Because if you don't have those conversations up front, then you just kind of are in the situation where you're reacting to the opportunities that come, and you don't have anything to weigh it against. You're just making decisions, and then you look back and you don't really understand how you got there.
But Valeria, when, like in my case, in my experience, I used to work also 8 hours per day, and with the children, with crazy life.
Right.
Sometimes we forget to communicate, to speak.
Yes.
And sometimes we lose the, our shared goals.
Yes.
So how would you recommend doing that? Like weekly, we would set specific timings for communication, and also like when you are stressed, you don't think about communication. You
No.
are stressed. You are
You're too
stressed.
busy.
You're too busy. You have children, and sometimes if you want to communicate, the other person is not ready for that.
I would try not to put too much stress on yourself and trying to have a weekly communication about goals. I would try to set some time, maybe at the beginning of the year, and take a vacation or a weekend where it's just the two of you. And so it doesn't feel like busy or it doesn't feel like work. But just like, let's take some time for ourselves to think about what we want. And we do that once a year, and then the rest of the year you just kind of check in. How's it going? Oh, life isn't going like we talked about or like we thought it would go. So that it's not heavy on a weekly basis, but it's at some point you have some time and you step back and you reflect on, are we where we want to be? Are things going the way we want? What do we want to achieve this year?
Yeah.
It's good.
Yes. After marriage, crazy life, single mom life.
Oh my goodness, yes. So I didn't have any appreciation for what single mothers go through. And I've checked in with people from different cultures. I mean, living here in Qatar, I get a chance to see if my experience in the U.S. is similar to other working moms. And I've found that everybody that I've talked to from different parts of the world have the same challenges with trying to balance kids' activities and cooking and housework. And so it's tiring. So it's not unique to just me. But I didn't know how much more stress there was on when you don't have a husband to help bear some of the load. And
your mother wasn't there?
My mother was in another state. So it was just me. All by myself. So my first approach was to get a nanny. So I got a part-time nanny to help me with the kids. And that was helpful. That was a big help. But then it got to be expensive because my job required that I travel. And when I was traveling, I didn't have a live-in nanny. So when I traveled to ask a nanny to stay overnight with my kids for a week at a time, it was very expensive. And so I did two things. One, at work, I said, can we not travel so frequently back to back? So that I set some boundaries at work. It's like, I don't mind if that's a responsibility of the job. You know, I want to do what's required for my job, but if we could space it out some. My son was 4. Negotiate. My son was 4, so a week away for him felt like forever. And he'd already, like, his dad wasn't there, so I was like, I didn't want him to feel like he was losing his mom too. So I reminded my son, I'll always come back. I'll always come back. I'm always here. So that was one thing that I did. But for me to get some help and not to make it such of a financial burden, I joined a women's group. Actually, it was a women's choir. And I found that they were a very natural support system. And so
Can you tell me more?
Yeah.
I'm not aware about this.
Just a women's group. There are lots of clubs or if you find a hobby.
Okay.
And so
how did you it was through internet or was it like local?
So I
support?
joined 2 women's groups. One that was kind of a mom's association. It was a service organization. But just look for things that you like to do. And the choir, I like to sing. So it was a way for me to find something that gave me energy. So that was positive. But I also found that it gave me friends and support. And I started to it was hard for me to ask for help.
Yeah,
I was a very strong, independent person.
Yeah, because sometimes we tend to stuck in our heads and our negative thinking, and we forget to ask for help. And we forget that there are people that are ready
and willing.
And willing to help.
So after the first couple of times, it got easier. But I asked So these are people that I knew from being in a choir together. We sang together, and I was like, "Oh, would you come and watch my kids for me? I have to travel." They were like, "Sure, no problem." And a lot of them were moms who their kids were older, and so they had time, and so they understood taking care of kids. They understood taking care of meals and things like that. So it was a natural support system, which really made a lot of it made my life a lot easier. But it also required me to be willing to ask for help and to let go of my pride or whatever it was that was keeping me from asking for help.
Okay, so it's like kind of your way to deal with your emotions, like so asking for help it was like that.
Asking for help was, I think I had been trained to think that I could be Superwoman, that I could work, I could take care of kids, I could take care of a husband, I could do everything without help, because that was, I don't know, I guess I had this need to achieve, and asking for help seemed like I was failing. But
do you still have this need for achieve?
No, I think going through that and having to depend on other people really taught me that I still have a need to achieve. I want to be successful, but not at the expense of my health, not at the expense of my profession, my sanity, or at the expense of my kids or my family. So once you have gotten to the point where you know that you're good at something, you don't feel like you have to prove yourself so much.
Yes. That's actually was one of my questions because I prepared the question. How do you, what is success for you? Like people all the time tell us, be successful, be successful.
So I think you have to learn how to define success for yourself, because if you let the world define success for you, you're constantly chasing someone else's target. And I used to define success based on corporate success, like achieving the corner office or a title. For me, I wanted to be the vice president of HR. And then I realized that the vice president of HR is not something that I wanted to be, because it took a lot away from my time at home. It required kind of almost being married to the company, because you have so much responsibility, and that it's hard to separate yourself from that and do the things that are important to you. And spending time with my kids was very important to me, because I felt being a mom was my number one job. Everything else was secondary. And so it took me a while to learn that. But when I was a single mom, I recognized how important motherhood was to me, and how important my children's growing up to be strong, independent, responsible, good citizens, whole. That was more important to me than my job. And so I redefined success as having great kids who grew up to be great adults, having a fulfilling profession, and being good at something that I loved. So finding out what I love to do and creating opportunities for me to do that. And it didn't really matter what my title was, as long as I was doing what I felt like I was born to do. And so
I feel like success is like overrated.
it is. It is. Success is
Everybody is chasing, like you told, some standards that which set for us.
right.
So I used before to think that success is like achieving, doing more, like you told. But after having my daughter, and I worked in cooperation for like 3 years. I realized that my definition of success is like spending the most time I could be with my children,
Right.
and at the same time doing the things that I love. But like I realized that family for me is more important. So sometimes we think that we have to achieve, or compare ourselves to others.
Right.
But we need to, as you told, to reflect and sit and see
What's important to
yeah,
you.
what's important for us and what makes really us really happy, instead of letting stress just overwhelming us.
I found we as women tend to judge each other. And so there's this huge thing where people who are making a choice to stay home because they want to be full-time moms look down or think negatively about people who make a choice to work.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's an either or, and there's not a right or a wrong.
That's
It's
true.
what is important for you and what makes your family work.
Yes.
And as a single mom, I didn't have the choice not to work.
Yes.
And so I didn't appreciate people who looked down on me. It didn't mean that I didn't want to be a good mom or that motherhood wasn't important because I worked.
Yes.
Not everybody can afford to not work.
Yes.
Not everybody can afford to stay at home. It's wonderful if that's what you want to do and you have the
And you don't have to be single mom also to work, to feel that work is important.
Right. For many years,
It's-
I was a working mom with a husband, and work was still important. But my husband thought that I thought work was more important than family. So I think it's important to understand what's the most important for you. And
Yes.
that takes time sometimes to figure out what's really important to you.
Yes, that's sometimes we need to have to try.
Yes.
Yeah, because when I thought that having full-time job is something important for me, but after doing that, I enjoyed it and I learned a lot from it. But I realized that this is not for me. I can do other stuff. I have other stuff
Yeah.
to do. So, as you told, also you figured out that sometimes you need to set boundaries
Yes.
at work to limit traveling. So it's like when you realize what's important to you, you start to design
Protect
your
it.
life. Yes, to protect it and design the
Yes.
world to fit with your things, the
Yes.
things you know.
I actually stayed home with my son for 6 months after he was born. So I realized that being a stay-at-home mom was not
Yeah.
what I wanted to do. I missed the conversations at work. I missed the intellectual stimulation. I missed the achievement. I miss working on something and interacting with people to produce something. I miss the challenge that I got at working that I didn't get at home. So it wasn't that I didn't value being a mother.
Yeah.
I missed it. I needed both. And so for me, it was important to recognize that as well. And to make sure that, so I got a lot of guilt from my kids because they had friends whose moms stayed at home. And so they were like, well, this kid's mom is always at home and they have cookies ready and food ready when they get home from school. I was like, well, yeah, that's right. But you get a chance to go on vacations and you get a chance to do a lot of things that they might not be able to do. So look at what you can get as opposed to what you don't get. And so I think it was helpful for them to see that there are benefits and there are pros and cons to both.
Yeah, and the fact that they are open to come and speak with you and tell you that it tells that there is communication, because you know sometimes we stay at home, stayed at home moms would get so busy with the whole homework and like that, and don't spend quality time. So I value quality time much. Like even if I am staying at home, sometimes I am stuck with the house stuff.
Yes, you want to get out.
Yeah. So I need also, even though I'm not working, I need also to sit with my children and speak with them and talk with them and communicate with them. And that's different than feeding them.
Exactly. Because you're trying to mold them into good adults. And so you have to start when they're young, having a conversation. It's funny, I get a lot of feedback from friends who meet my son now that he's 20. And so now people will go and see him or talk to him at university, and he's away from me, and they're like, oh my goodness, he's so mannerable. He does, he's doing so well, and he can hold a conversation. He knows how to give people a tour and tell them about, his choices and how he makes decisions. He also said that when he first moved away, he found out that a lot of kids don't know how to make decisions, and they're completely lost when they get out on their own. And he said, thank you for helping me to know how to make decisions. So when they were growing up, my mom used to say, why do you give your kids so many choices? And I was like, because I want them to think about how to make decisions, the consequences. And so I didn't give them wide open, but I would say, do you want this cereal or that cereal? Do you want seafood for dinner?
So did you have this in your mind, like while you are raising your children, you had a plan? Like,
not so much a plan, but I remembered what didn't work from growing up. And my mom didn't give us choices. And so I've been a very outspoken young person, which she didn't like. I would always say, I would always ask why. And, and when I was growing up, kids weren't allowed to really have an opinion. And so I wanted my kids to have an opinion. I wanted them to be able to express themselves, but respectfully. So I would remind them, I'm still your mom, I'm not your friend, but I do want to hear what you think. And I remember I was talking on the phone, on the cell phone, and very distracted, still doing work, and my son said, can you get off the phone? I would like for you to spend some time with me. And I was like, oh my goodness. Thank you. I will get off the phone. And I was reminded by him, and he's really good, I wanted him to speak up and tell me how he was feeling. And he learned how to do that very young. But he reminded me to be present.
Yeah.
When I'm with them, I'm with them. And when I'm at work, I'm at work. And I try not to, sometimes you can't help but deal with life when you're at work, and you can't help but deal with work when you're at home. But when I try my best to be present with them and engage them and have conversations, ask them what they're thinking, and I give them my opinions, but I let them make decisions.
How did you do that while you were single mom?
Oh, well, I would tell, like, even when my daughter was a teenager and we were shopping and she didn't like me picking out her clothes, I said, well, you can find the things that you like, and I have veto power. So it still allowed her freedom to choose. And then I would, like, if she picked 3 things, I would say you can have this one, but not that one. But at least she had a say. I didn't go in and tell her what to wear.
So it's more of a mindset. So it's like going on in your background.
Yes.
Like whenever you have the chance, you would introduce them to make a decision or to be themselves or to express themselves.
Yeah, I see them as
I'm trying
people, little people.
I'm trying to get benefit.
I see them as little people with. I remember having opinions very young, and so I remember being told to be quiet a lot, and I was like, but I want to share what I'm thinking. And so I wanted my kids to be able to express themselves, and I taught them how to express themselves in a way that didn't get them into trouble. Even express their emotions. My son, when he went through the terrible twos, his terrible twos lasted till about 5. And so he would get very angry and throw things, and I was like, okay. So he did this when I wasn't around, usually with the nanny or with someone else who was caring. And I was like, okay, being angry is okay, but there are ways that you can be angry without getting in trouble. And so I said, these are the options that you have. You can stump your feet. You can scream into a pillow. You can go to your room and close the door, but not slam the door. You cannot break.
How old?
He was about 5. It's like you can close the door and go to your room, but you cannot break anything. You cannot hit people. You can't, hurt anyone.
I would tell my daughter, go and wash your face. Like mostly like that.
But I always like giving them choices. Because I think when you give people choices, you give them more freedom and control, as opposed to when you tell them what to do.
Yeah, that's nice. I think next time I would give more options.
Not open-ended, but with boundaries.
Let me check the questions. I actually want also to talk about communicating in workplaces, especially for women. Sometimes it's not that you have
easy. Yes. So I talk a lot, and I know that I also have a very strong presence, which in this culture is maybe something I have to think about, because women don't usually, it's unusual for women to speak up in meetings and to lead meetings. People haven't seen that. And so sometimes it can shock people or be intimidating. But what makes me comfortable speaking is when I know my subject, when I'm talking about something that is in my area of, my profession. So I'm confident because it's something that I have knowledge. And then based on my role or my objectives, I feel like I was in this job and I've been asked to do this, so that gives me more confidence to speak up. And I still have to deal with people who mansplain, where they repeat what you said like you didn't just say it. So I have to deal with that, or I have to deal with people who don't necessarily think that women should be leading or speaking or very forward. What helps me probably is because I don't think of myself in business as a woman. I think of myself as an HR professional. And so when I take off that gender, because I think when you think about yourself as a woman leader as opposed to just a leader, it puts you in a box.
Yeah.
And so when I just think about myself as an HR leader or a leader who is supposed to be influencing or helping an organization accomplish a goal, it gives me more freedom to talk. If I think about, I'm a woman, I can't say anything, then that will be limiting.
Okay.
Is that what you meant?
Yeah, but I also want to speak about, because I guess because I'm not at this stage, so I'm trying to relate, but I want also to speak about or to talk about when people get competitive with you, I want to, because also as a woman, sometimes we get bullied, we get harassment. I want to speak about this also. How, as a HR professional, what would you advise like women like me or whoever is watching to deal with this stuff?
I think when you're dealing, so harassment is a challenge, and I'm probably a little bit more of the type that gives people the benefit of the doubt, and so I don't go looking for the insult when people talk. But when I sense that somebody has crossed the line, I want to address it with them first before I take it and complain to someone. So I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they didn't understand that they were offending me, or that they were doing something that was across the line. I remember when my first job, so I was around 25 or so, and there weren't a lot of women in corporate, especially in the oil industry. And I was young compared to the rest of the workplace. The average age was around 45 or so. So here's this young female coming into office, and there was a person that I had to pass by to go to my meeting every day. And you can tell when somebody's looking at you as a woman versus as a professional.
Yeah.
And so he just made me very uncomfortable. And so I didn't know what to do. So I told somebody, and I told somebody that I trusted. I wasn't complaining. I was just like, this person's making me uncomfortable. And so they said something to the person. But there are other times when, as I've gotten more comfortable saying, you know what?
And so you told somebody about it,
and they told that
they
person.
told that person, and,
Yeah.
and you felt comfortable
Yes.
after.
And they never, so I didn't want the person to lose their job. I didn't want the person to, I felt uncomfortable saying something to them myself.
Yeah, I was thinking, why didn't you go directly?
I was young, and I was like, I'm not sure what to say. So I did want to tell somebody because it was making me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But there are other times, like in that same time, there was an older manager who I had to work with, and he was uncomfortable with a young female being in the room because he said that it made him have to watch what he was saying. And I was like, well, what is he saying that I can't be in the room? What is he saying? What is he wanting to say? And so I told my boss.
So
that
it was about you being young, or about
both.
Both.
Because I was the only woman in the room. I was the only young person in the room, and I was the only minority in the room. So I don't know. So I was the only African American, but actually there was no diversity at all. So I didn't really think about the fact that I was different, but I was thinking about what my job was, and he was uncomfortable with me being in the room.
And he was a manager?
Yes.
So how did you deal?
So he didn't tell me, he told my boss. And my boss told him, well, it's her job to be in the room. She has to be in the room to hear what you're saying. And he stood up for me. And so the next time I went to those meetings, I knew that he didn't want me to be in the room, so that was in the back of my mind, but I also felt that I had the support of my management, so that gave me confidence to continue to speaking. And that same guy, when I left, he retired, he said, you really added value to the discussion, because I kept speaking. I didn't let it make
So you stood for yourself.
I continued to do my job despite the fact that somebody didn't think that I should be there.
But this is so difficult, Valeria. Like, now I understand you, but like, before I had issues also. How would we develop this confidence? Yeah. Like
Yeah.
how to be sure from like, you know, deep that we want to do that and we able to do that regardless what other people think
Think about
especially
you.
if other people, somebody who is like manager or yeah.
I'm glad you asked me the question because I've spent a lot of time thinking about what it is that helps me to be confident. I've gotten a lot of feedback that, you know, I have a very strong presence. You know, I'm comfortable in my skin no matter what the situation is. And I was like, what do I do with that information? How do I help somebody? How did I get that way? And so I had very much a strong sense of family. So my family gives me confidence because we came from a family that was very proud of being who we were. You know, it was just, I mean, we were just country people, but you know, there was a strong sense of self. Like, so my family gives me confidence, knowing that I come from a loving family that is supportive and encouraging. That gives me confidence. I was always good in school, and I knew that I loved what I was doing. So I knew that I was good at the area that I was working in. And also, when I go into a meeting or I go into a job, I feel like they hired me because I was good enough for that job. And so when you remember that, it gives you the ability to be, when you think about that, as opposed to, I think as women, a lot of women are always second guessing themselves or doubting their ability, comparing themselves to other people. I don't spend a lot of time comparing myself to
Comparing
other
is
people because I believe everybody has something to offer. And I believe that if I have something to offer and you have something to offer, together we make something great. I think as women, if we remember that we might not have the same things to offer, but I have something. So to remember that you have something to offer the world.
So I would, if I am going to wrap what you told me, like you summarize it, you told that you already know what you are good at.
Yes.
So having the ability to know
What you're good at.
what you are good at
Yes.
is important, not comparing. And knowing that there are somebody is there for you.
Yes.
Somebody who loves you. So support is important.
Support is important. Because I think that gives you confidence. These people may not like me, but I have a whole lot of people that do.
Yeah.
And that they know me. These people don't know me.
Yeah. And remembering, that's like a good point, because when you forget that these people doesn't like they don't know you, and they are complete. You have complete life there.
Yeah.
They are not aware of.
So I give them the benefit of the doubt. Whenever somebody talks about me, or I hear rumors that somebody said something about me, like somebody will say she's mean or she's conceited or arrogant or whatever, I was like, they obviously don't know me. So I don't take it personally because they're making assumptions based on what they see, maybe.
Okay, but even if you have this confidence, sometimes this is another issue I want to discuss. If this is bullying, if people start to spread rumors about you in workplace, this is kind of bullying. So sometimes it will affect your work. Sometimes it goes to managers and all. How would you deal with that? How would you advise as HR somebody in that position to deal with it?
So bullying, harassment, rumors, I mean, it's all things that you may have to deal with. And my thing is, you have to either tell somebody or address the situation yourself. Because if you allow it to just stay with you, it'll bring you down and it'll add stress. And so the only way that you can really get through it and get past it is to address it. And if you don't feel comfortable talking to the person who's doing it to you, talk to somebody else that can help or at least help you think it through. And maybe they can give you a perspective that you don't have. And the other thing I realized a little bit later, not early in my career, but kind of mid-career, is that hurting people hurt people. So usually when somebody's bullying you or acting out or being mean, mean girls kind of syndrome, it's because they're hurting. And so I try to remember that. They're acting out. And so that helps me to be a lot more forgiving and compassionate and not take it personally.
Yeah.
So I've dealt with bullies before, and you have to establish boundaries. No, you're not going to treat me like that, or that's not appropriate behavior, or if they're being really bad, then I'll report them to who needs to know. But you can't let people continue to abuse you. But it does help you to be more compassionate if you think about the fact they must be hurting.
Okay. This is Valeria. I want the HR.
You want HR.
So do you think, because I want some woman to be fully aware of her options and doesn't to do the right action without affecting her position. So if somebody there is stuck in something like that,
A bad situation.
Do you recommend going to HR? Because some people would feel that would, be like a mark in their file or.
So as an HR person, I definitely think you should go to HR.
Really?
Yes, but I do think you need to manage your expectations. And so HR is obligated to do something if they get a complaint. But they can't always, especially in a workplace, sometimes it's just one person's word against the other. And they're not detectives or police.
Yeah.
So they can try their best to get to the root of it and try to
resolve the conflict.
To resolve the conflict.
But it will not like.
But they can't change the person.
Yeah.
And so they can help to try to put things in place to fix it. And that's why I think it's important to report it, especially if it's something that you can address. Like it's something that's affecting
you have
your...
something in your
Yeah,
life.
it's affecting your livelihood, your ability to get promoted or rated correctly, or whatever reason, even if it's just giving you stress. It's good to report it, but you also need to recognize you can't report stuff in confidence and not expect them to do something. If you report it to the company, the people in HR have to do something. They're compelled to do something. I've had friends that said, I'd like to tell you about somebody harassing me, but I don't want you to tell anybody, or I don't want you to do anything. I was like,
why are you coming?
Yes, I am a representative of the company, so I have to do something now that I know.
Let's talk about coaching, because we didn't talk yet about coaching. So,
what do you want to know?
When did you decide to?
So I have been working for 29 years in corporations, and most of that time I've always been involved as a mentor. And about in 2012 I decided that I wanted to do something different to help people. I wanted to see what else I could be doing, and so I explored coaching. And I was also interested in what the difference was.
Yeah.
And so mentoring was me sharing my knowledge and experience with someone who was trying to learn from me, which felt natural and was helpful. But I like coaching because coaching, you can coach people who are in a completely different field. You don't have to know what anything about the area that they're trying to learn and grow in, because coaching is not telling. Coaching is not advising. Coaching is not giving people the answer. It's supporting them. It's walking alongside them as a partner and helping them to, they might have a goal, but they don't have it really crystallized and in color and really sharp. So it's helping them to clarify their goals and then helping them to walking alongside them to just check in with them. How's it going? And, have you thought about what you're going to do to get there? Have you considered alternatives? So it's really kind of asking questions to make sure that they are achieving their goals, and it's supportive. It can be challenging. You can be challenging, but you don't have the answers. You believe that they have the answers within them, that they already
all the time can you solve my problem?
So it's not about solving their problems. I do know that a lot of people want someone else to solve their problems, but that's not the role of the coach.
Okay.
So I love it.
And recently you started to is it like volunteering in Doha? I say.
So coaching, some people do it as a full-time job where they have clients that come to them on a regular basis, whether it's once a week or every other week, and they spend an hour or so helping them reach their goal, and they get paid for it. Some people work internally, so for most of the coaching that I do is internal to an organization, so it's covered in my salary. And then there are people that you might do pro bono, so for free. But you don't want to coach unless somebody actually wants coaching. So I think that's the biggest challenge, is to ask permission to coach, or you're coaching for someone who wants you to coach, as opposed to just going and coaching, like coaching my husband or coaching my children. It's okay to coach your children, whether they want it or not.
So you think coaching is good with children? Because
I do. I think you have to both coach and mentor, and sometimes you have to supervise or manage. And so when you're telling, which is what we tend to do, especially with children, but even sometimes at work, you tell people what to do. The problem with telling is that they don't have any sense of ownership. They may listen to you, and as soon as you are not around, they'll do what they want to do. Giving people advice or giving them options gives them a little bit more ownership and commitment. So mentoring and coaching, I think, is a better approach to parenting. And you have to decide when you need to be in an advisory role and when you need to step back. So the older the kids get, I think it's more coaching. When they're younger, it's a little bit more mentoring.
My daughter, she is 5 years old, but I started already after getting my coaching training and all. I started to ask her more questions and communicating her in like more of coaching approach, and like I feel she is more obedient, like she is listening more to me than before. I wouldn't say she is listening all but there is improvement. So I would recommend for all parents to start asking them questions, helping them to know themselves more.
And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go to school to learn how to coach to be able to do it. It's just about asking, well, what do you want? So that's setting a goal. So what's keeping you from doing it? What obstacles, what's getting in the way? How will you know what success looks like? Have you, do you have a picture in your mind or what you want? So those kind of questions, I used to ask my kids, tell me something that you did for someone else today. or because I wanted to
encourage them
to be kind.
Okay. I wanted also to ask you about what would your advice be to deal with negativity, like negative people in life? Because this is a struggle for me. For sometimes, I'm listener. I like to listen and I like to support. Maybe that's why I'm struggling now, because I listen and support. But sometimes some people would complain, complain all the time.
That's a struggle for me as well, because when you're around negative people all the time, it brings down your energy. And so you have to establish boundaries about how much of some people you can't avoid, especially if they're family or colleagues. So you have to set some boundaries about how much time you want to spend around negative people. And I would say the other thing is you have to balance the negative energy with some positive energy. So if you know you have to deal with somebody that's negative.
No, for me, the question is not about the people I have to deal with, because if I have to deal with them, I have to deal with them. But I was thinking, is it not kind
to tell them?
Am I being selfish and not kind if I am not listening and supporting?
Well, we don't have to support everybody. So if it's somebody that you have to support, then letting them know the impact of their negativity, I think, is a first step. Trying to give them different ways of being, give them different ideas. Maybe they don't know any other way. And then if it's somebody that's not willing to change and not willing to be, because people will only change if it's something that they want to change. If there's no motivation for them, you can't change other people, especially not grown-ups.
I guess I started to feel better when I knew that I don't. Sometimes you feel you are supporting, but sometimes not supporting is kind of help.
Support,
Because then they will realize that this complaining is not helping.
You're right.
And they will start to.
Some people, if they're down and they're negative, they want to bring you down with them. And so the best way to keep from going there is to just not encourage them or not participate. Be quiet, not, I won't say don't listen, but don't let it come in. Don't let their energy affect you.
I will ask you the last question because we don't want to make it more long. What would you, or what do you think the characters that helped you to get a managerial position, to be a manager in cooperation?
Oh, wow.
I know that is not easy.
Well, I think getting things done. So talent, having, being good at what you're trying to do. So focusing on doing things well that you've been asked to do. So your performance is a big part of whether you'll be identified as a future leader, as a leader in the future. And then your image, how you present yourself, how you, and I'm talking not just the quality of your clothing and your hair and stuff like that. It's also the perceptions that you give. So people are always watching you. And so thinking about the image that you want, setting your intentions, how do you want to come across, how do you want to be known, how do you want to be, your reputation. So the image that you project is important. So what you think about yourself affects how you present yourself. So it affects your image. So
you are not talking about
clothes,
acting, or
It's not putting on a show.
pretending.
No, it's not
Yeah.
pretending. Your confidence comes from knowing who you are.
Yeah.
And so
being yourself.
being yourself and being comfortable
Comfortable.
with yourself, I think that projects confidence. And that image, regardless of what you have on or what makeup you have on or how your hair looks, or that confidence makes you shine.
Yeah.
So your inner knowledge of self, your inner work is what really projects externally. So that what you think about yourself is huge in terms of what you project. And then the last thing I would say is having people know about you and your capabilities. So helping people to get exposure, finding ways to getting exposure to people who are making decisions. When I was young or early in my career, I would ask, who are the people that are making decisions about my career? It's usually not your supervisor. So I wanted to know who were the people that were deciding which jobs I was going to get.
Who would you ask?
Well, first I asked my supervisor, like, who are the people in the room when they decide what my performance rating is going to be?
And he was open to discuss with that.
Yeah, and I mean, most people will. I mean, I wasn't asking it in a threatening way. I just wanted to know, who are the people that are making decisions? That's a very fair question. Who are the people that make decisions about careers in this role, in this company? And then once I knew who that was, how do I meet them? How do they know what I'm doing? Because if they don't know what you're doing, how can they make a good decision about you? But you got to work on your performance and your image at the same time, because now if you get exposure, you can be overexposed. You can get burned. So you don't want them to know.
So you wouldn't go doing nothing at work and go, here I am.
Look
Can you
at
see me?
No, but so sometimes to get exposure, I would volunteer. I participated in company. So we used to have lots of social gatherings. Like last night, our company got together, and it was social. It was a meet and greet kind of thing. But those activities are important. A lot of times we don't want to socialize with our work colleagues, but those are the opportunities where people get to know you.
Yeah.
They get to know how you think. In the U.S., all the guys play golf. And, that's where the decisions were made. That's how they got to know people. So I play golf.
Yeah, at work, I had a doctor. He was a reader, actually. And he was all the time enthusiastic and would go with a big smile at work. And he used to organize all the time outings for his team. Yeah.
And people don't like to go. They feel like it's work and it's taken away from my time. But that's the best way for people to get to know you, when they're not working with. I mean, working with them on a project is good too, but you don't always have those opportunities to work with senior managers on a project.
I would say going out with colleagues would help connecting with them in more of like humans.
People like to work and promote people that they know and people that they get along with.
Yeah.
And so if they don't know you and they don't know that they like you, it's really hard to expect them to promote you.
Yeah. Okay. So most of my questions are finished. If you want to add anything, tell anything. Now you are working as a coach, right?
Yes, I'm working as a coach.
You have a page or something you want to share with us?
Well, my coaching practice is called Masterful You, and I'm not actively taking on clients right now, but definitely open. I have a Facebook page, and people are welcome to ask me questions. Okay. People are welcome to follow me. I try to put tips and advice on my coaching page online.
I will share the page, inshallah.
Yeah, so it's my way to kind of stay in touch and give back.
Okay. So anything you want to say?
No, I thank you for inviting me. It's been a great conversation. It made me think, and I can't wait to hear it so that I can reflect on
Yeah,
what I said.
inshallah. And thank you for coming and helping me and supporting me in this. يعني like you didn't hesitate at all. I told you, come Valeria, and we will experiment on, and we fixed all the stuff with each other. So thank you for coming. And